It was soon evident the fire was going to have a major impact on the farm and ranch industry in Garfield and Petroleum counties.
Montana Ag reporter Russell Nimitz and photographer Paul Humphrey were able to capture the long road ahead for one rancher.
No humidity, 100+ degree heat, and just steady winds. And with the extreme drought conditions it was just a recipe for an uncontrolled disaster.
Even though the flames are out, like others, Jordan rancher Brett Daly is now facing the daunting task of putting his ranch back together after the fire burned miles and miles of fence line and also displaced thousands of cattle throughout Garfield and Petroleum counties.
Displacement of cattle would be somewhere directly affected, encompassing this fire area, would be somewhere around that 7,500 to right close to 10,000 head.
The other main priority now is rebuilding all that fence that was lost in the fire.
You know, there's a couple 100,000 acres right behind me there, and you can bet that 90% of the fence is burned up.
As neighbors continue to help neighbors recover, the generosity from other people, both near and far, is also nothing short of amazing.
Yes, generosity is unbelievable with people wanting to help out with this fire. Ranchers from away from here and concerned people from the land, they knew those cattle were going to need feed. There was trucks loaded with hay headed this way, and most everybody was still out stomping on fire on the fire line.
And even through a huge natural disaster like this, the optimistic nature of those involved in agriculture continues to shine through all the ashes.
Mother Nature will be good to us again, and this country will green up and it'll look great again.
The lodgepole fire burned for weeks. Ranchers had to scramble to get their herds fed and back together.
They needed miles of fence repaired. When the call went out for help, Montanans answered. MTN's David J. spent a day on the fence line in Garfield County.
Volunteers replaced burned, damaged, and destroyed fencing for the Petersons on their ranch near Mosby in Garfield County.
When you have people by this numbers come to help you, it's awesome.
It's amazing. They come from everywhere and just to help us out. So it's a great thing.
And the Petersons have a lot of fencing to replace on the exterior of their property.
I'm 76 years old last February, and I told my wife I would probably never see this place fenced in what's left of my life. Now, maybe I will.
The fire burned more than 270,000 acres and came close to the Petersons' home. But the fire destroyed Larry's childhood home, which the Petersons' daughter was restoring.
This fire was a little bit overwhelming. I've never seen such a fire before.
They have about 22 miles of fencing to replace. Some of it that got burned is similar to this, and this is some of the original cedar that was put in by Larry and his family.
This was actually the sad part for him to see, because his grandfather and uncles and his dad and himself, they put up most of these fences.
The Breakfast Flakes, with the help of people making donations, celebrated the day of installing fences with about 200 volunteers.
Everybody that's here today is here because they want to do something nice. They want to do something neighborly. They've been in a situation where they've had loss and somebody's helped them out. This is really a feel-good event, and people are just helping because they want to help.
There's a lot of people that have been devastated by this fire, and Montanans help each other out in times of need, so figured we'd come up, pitch in, and do our part.
I'm not sure when I'll be able to write all these thank you cards, but I would like to put it out to everybody and to all the firefighters and all the people who worked on them fires. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, the conditions around Billings have been ripe for wildfire for at least 2 months now. Several fires sparked but were put out quickly. This fire in Emerald Hills, just south of Billings, had the potential to run, but quick work through the air kept this fire at bay. And it was again the air attack and firefighter response that put down the Highway 87 fire in late August.
The Billings Airport remains a busy place, with the air tanker base playing a crucial role in fighting fires from above. I'm Janelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn, MTN News.
I'm afraid our ranch is going to burn. I sure hope I don't, but it's coming.
If you weren't here, my house would have burned down. over the reef over there, and you could see it in the dark. You know, you could really see the flames. Because we knew the fire was coming, but we didn't know how fast.
Today the wind was blowing out of the east a little bit, which helped us. If it was blowing like it was yesterday, we'd be burned out right now.
How do you replace it all? How do you go through and make a list of everything that you did lose?
Within probably a matter of a half an hour. It was a pretty significant, pretty fascinating situation.
But I am thankful as hell that they're here to save my house and to save my friends' houses over here.
Your appreciation is very heartfelt.
Neighbor helps neighbor. It's always been that way, and hopefully it stays that way.
The way folks help each other out, I'm always impressed by Montana.
We now return to Montana wildfire relief.
During this year's fire season, southwest Montana fared better than most other parts of the state.
MTN's Donna Kelly joins us from Bozeman with a look, though, at the aftermath of one big fire that did hit that region.
The largest wildfire in southwest Montana this season was the Myers Fire south of Phillipsburg. It scorched more than 62,000 acres and forced evacuations. But September snow and rain knocked the fire down and has nearly put it out. MTN's John Amy walked the charred forest left behind by the fire and talked to those who fought the blaze.
You hear that?
That dull, distant crack was the sound of a fire-damaged tree toppling over. And while recent rains and snow tamped out much of the wildfire burning south of Phillipsburg, the hazards of falling trees and unstable ground continue to make this charred forest a dangerous place.
Those dangers will exist for a while, not just this fall, but you know, the snags will always be there until they finally fall to the ground.
Hunters and outdoor enthusiasts are warned to be cautious when they return to these woods.
You can still have things come loose with additional moisture, trees falling, rocks rolling.
Since lightning first started this fire in mid-July, it was a difficult one to fight. Crews used a defensive strategy to save structures around Moose Lake that were threatened by the fast-moving flames.
We had limited resources and extreme fire behavior with extreme drought conditions.
So I'm standing here in a fire-blackened wilderness near Moose Lake, and this is a spot where firefighters literally diverted this fire around a structure. In fact, the flames came within yards of the cabin.
Set up pumps and sprinkler systems and get the elevated moisture up and around the cabins. The whole idea is for the fire to move around the structure, leaving the structure safe.
And the plan worked because no structures were lost. South of Phillipsburg, John Amy, MTN News.
The duration, the intensity.
We're in a very serious situation here. We are tired of being told that others know better than we do while we watch our forests burn every summer.
But it's not sustainable to run a fire like this on donations.
I'm John Shearer in Livingston. Loggers and timber producers in Montana say they can do a lot to decrease the number and intensity of wildfires in the state. How would they do that? They say by thinning dangerously overgrown forests. They say activity like this could create a lot of jobs and make the state safer.
If you look at the fire triangle, it takes weather, topography, and fuels. And there's only one thing that humans can control, and that is fuels.
Some say overgrown forests are now a danger to the firefighters themselves.
I'm hearing from a lot of fire chiefs anymore that they're not going to risk the lives of their firefighters. The majority of them volunteer.
There's 22.5 million acres of national forest lands in Montana. We want to treat roughly 5 million acres.
We are trying to engineer, trying to actually construct a forest that's fireproof. It's ridiculous. It isn't going to work.
I've seen it happen. It works, and it saves lives, and it saves clean water and clean air.
If you clear cut the forest, which we are still having thousands of acres a year clear cut, all bets are off. You've got nothing left of the forest.
Both Senators Tester and Daines also want something else changed. They say instead of having the Forest Service pay for firefighting out of its annual budget, wildfires should be treated like any other natural disaster and funded through FEMA. In Livingston, John Shearer, MTN.